Are you still haunted by past mistakes, unable to forgive yourself? Do you feel like those memories hold you back from moving forward and being happy? When you refuse to forgive yourself, you can't change the past. That's impossible. But you do paralyze your present and limit your future. Throughout life, we make decisions, some more right than others. Along the way, we can make mistakes, fail, hurt ourselves, and hurt others. However, all experiences are part of the process, and making mistakes is inevitable. Both success and failure teach us and shape who we are. That's why it's necessary to forgive yourself in order to move forward. And that's exactly what we'll do today at Mindful Infusion. We've prepared 8 simple steps you can follow to let go of those painful memories from the past and finally forgive yourself. Shall we begin? Self-forgiveness is such an important part of being at peace with who you are. None of us are perfect, and we all make mistakes, and we already know that. We repeat it to our friends when they feel bad about a mistake they made at work or with their family. So why is it so difficult for us to follow our own advice? Carrying around guilt or shame can really hold us back from being happy, and yet we remain trapped in that feeling. Now, one of the toughest parts about forgiving ourselves is that we often struggle to be kind to ourselves. It's because we tend to be much harder on our own mistakes and failures than we would be on a friend's. We judge ourselves harshly, thinking that constant punishment will somehow make us better. But that hardly ever works, right? Instead, we end up tormenting ourselves needlessly and feeling guilty for a long time, even years later. Maybe it's because we're human and haven't quite figured out how to let go of the bad stuff. We see constant self-punishment as something we deserve for not getting things exactly right. But this eats away at us, starting in our minds and then affecting our bodies. And the worst part is, it becomes like an anchor holding us back. On the flip side, there's the unhealthy need for perfection and the lack of self-compassion that stops us from accepting and loving ourselves as we are, imperfect humans who are always learning. And without self-love, it's tough to find true happiness. But how do we fix this? How can we look in the mirror and genuinely say, I forgive you, I love you, from the heart? Step 1, acknowledging your mistakes. The first step is acknowledging your mistakes without judgment. This one is huge because it's so easy to keep beating ourselves up over past errors. Instead, try taking a step back and looking at what happened from a place of neutral understanding rather than harsh criticism. Remind yourself that you did the best you could with the tools and life experiences you had at the time. Have empathy for the version of you who made those choices or mistakes. They were still you, and you were still learning. Just tell me, and I know this might sound a bit tough as we're just getting started, but how would you talk to your 5-year-old self who made a mistake while learning to tie shoelaces? Would you shout at them? Would you tell them they're worthless? It's tough to imagine yourself in that situation, isn't it? So why would you speak to yourself with such negative words when you're still learning? And the mistakes you make are proof that at least you're trying. Step 2, allowing yourself to feel remorse. Once you've acknowledged without judgment, the next step is allowing yourself to feel remorse. Remorse is how we internally process that something wasn't right or good without wallowing in it. Try to feel genuine sorrow or regret for things you wish had gone differently. Letting those emotions come up and pass through you is healthy, rather than locking them away, because when we repress those feelings, we don't give ourselves the chance to properly learn from past errors. So yes, remorse is how we allow lessons to sink in on an emotional level so change can happen. But don't let it consume you. Feelings will rise and fall as part of natural healing. Step 3, take responsibility. After remorse comes responsibility. This step is about honestly facing your personal role without making excuses. Look closely at your part and try to understand it from multiple angles, rather than broad interpretations. Sometimes it means digging deep to see how unconscious factors like insecurity or fear may have influenced us to harmful behaviors. But hold on, the point here isn't continued self-flagellation. We don't need that in our lives anymore. It's to gain insight and clarity to do better going forward. With that understanding comes power over repetition. Step 4. Make amends if possible. Taking responsibility often leads to making amends if possible. Obviously, there are situations where amends don't apply or could end up causing more harm, so you should avoid putting yourself in those situations. But where it feels safe and appropriate, trying to right wrongs can bring a deep sense of relief. Even small gestures to show you've grown, learned, and won't repeat past mistakes can help realign relationships. Of course, make amends for yourself, not to be absolved by others. The goal is sincere accountability, not demands for forgiveness from those affected. Step 5. Genuinely forgive yourself. All these steps prepare us to genuinely forgive ourselves, which comes next. Self-forgiveness takes time, dedication, and a daily intention to be compassionate rather than critical. Try visualizing you forgiving a good friend for something minor. Wouldn't you give them grace freely? Start extending that same grace to yourself as you would someone you care for. Remind yourself often that everyone stumbles and harbor no ill will toward the imperfect humans you and I both are. As self-judgment loosens its grip, inner peace can blossom. Step 6. Let go of regret. That brings us to step 6. Letting go of regret over past mistakes. Easier said than done, I know, but try consciously practicing non-attachment. Accept that the past can't be rewritten. Release expectations that it could have or should have gone differently, and instead be grateful for lessons learned. Regret keeps us tethered to time that has already flown by. Learn from what happened without wallowing in what ifs and could've, should've thinking. Stay present in each new moment instead. Step 7. Keep growing. The next step supports continued growth. Make a commitment to personal improvement. While we can't undo errors, we always have the power to become wiser and strengthen weak areas through intention and effort. Make active choices each day to nurture positive qualities like empathy, courage, patience, and compassion. Nourish your spirit and relationships through service to others where possible too. Step 8. Be kind to yourself. Lastly, self-forgiveness is a lifelong journey, not a single act. Be gentle and patient with yourself as you integrate change and build healthy habits. Lapses may happen, that's human, so recommit with understanding and extend the same mercy to those around you. Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. So don't be too tough on yourself. We all mess up, it's part of learning. If you don't want to go through this healing journey alone, we're here for you. Subscribe to Mindful Infusion and let us walk with you. Take care and see you soon.